bad luck to kill a seabird.
The Lighthouse is, somehow, only the second movie from American beard haver and probably cool guy Robert Eggers. After The Witch took Eggers from unknown theater director to the top of many a horror fan's must-watch lists, he ran with the momentum and cashed in his recently unlocked industry cred for a story idea he and his brother Max had been workshopping for years. In 2018, the world learned that The Lighthouse existed, centered around two lighthouse keepers in the 1800s, and would be starring Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, two actors with a penchant for choosing pretty out-there movies. Dafoe, who had seen and loved The Witch, the taste of this king, reached out to Eggers and told him he'd star in anything Eggers had available. And Pattinson had already met with Eggers about unrelated projects, but I'll let him say how he felt about them.
I sort of quite flippantly said at the end of one of the meetings, I was like, look, basically all I want to do is like stuff that's like really, really weird and crazy. And the next day he said like, oh, yeah, me and my brother are working on this thing, like, and I think if this isn't crazy enough, like, I don't know what to tell you. And I read it and I was like, yeah, this is pretty wild.
Dance, Winslow! Dance! Come on, you like the whip through here? How we got to the whip last year? Into the same we jumped out of. We got put in a big boat.
And wild it is. But before we dive into this labyrinth of a film, a disclaimer. Discussing this movie without completely ruining it is extremely difficult. We're gonna keep spoilers mild, but I think any amount of spoiling for The Lighthouse is too much. So if you have the time and the interest, I would encourage you to either skip this section until you've watched the movie, or pause, take an hour and 40 minutes to watch it, take another 30 to unpack whatever confused feelings it has left you with, and come back to us. As the sharp-eyed among you may have already noticed, The Lighthouse looks a little different from most of the movies released in the last few years. For one, why there no color? Movies usually colorful, why no color? And also square and dark. These bold choices of presentation are the film's first challenge to the audience. If you see a trailer for a film that looks like this and manage to not scoff at it for being pretentious, blowhard, artsy-fartsy cinema, that's hopefully because you've seen at least one modern movie that was shot in black and white or with a non-standard aspect ratio that was also very good. Or you've seen The Witch and have to know if Robert Eggers is actually that incredible at directing and not another Richard Kelly-esque fluke. I can tie that loose end for you now with a confession. The Lighthouse is one of my favorite movies of all time. On the extremely objective and factual list of the 50 best movies ever seen by me, it is in 14th place, which is not a very prestigious number, granted, but still 14th of all time is pretty stellar. It surpassed The Witch in ways I didn't know were possible. For one, many of my favorite horror stories tie in with occult or religious themes. I mean, hot take alert, but I really like The Exorcist. 3. Haha, funny joke, you are joking, Bigby.
No, I am not! I'm alive!
But I will die on this hill. The Exorcist 3 rules! The Lighthouse abandoned these threads from The Witch for one significantly less common in horror: man versus nature. When it comes to movies, I feel like that phrase is less likely to invoke existential dread than it is to almost comfort with nostalgia. Maybe it's reminiscent of the corny delight of a Roland Emmerich disaster movie, where a tidal wave can put several stories of New York underwater or make the deaths of innocent old women unintentionally hilarious. But this isn't a Roland Emmerich movie, or The Hurricane Heist, a real movie that does exist and that I've seen. The villain of this film is not a natural disaster. There's no Sharknado on the attack. The nature these two men face is one beyond human comprehension, influenced by all-powerful beings with little interest in the desires of men.
Say, why is it bad luck to kill a gull?
Because Willem Dafoe said it was, Robert, and he literally showed himself to be Proteus, so maybe you should shut the fuck up and listen to your elders. Or, well, wait, fucking hell. Are gods even real? In this world, is he actually Proteus? Did that happen? I mean, these two never stop fighting over what and when and how and why things happen. If we could just find common ground on one thing. How many days has it been?
5 weeks. 2 days. Where are we? Help me to recollect.
Is Robert Pattinson's perspective trustworthy in the slightest? If I was stuck out on a random island with this stinky oaf, I'd probably dream about a sexy mermaid too. Was she real? Does the movie even have a protagonist? What is a protagonist? Oh god, is it even nature they're facing? Maybe it's not nature. Maybe it's the nature of humanity to yearn for what they can't have, to get more and more desperate as that object of desire gets further from their reach. Nothing is more intoxicating than knowing of a secret's existence without knowing its contents. What is in the light? Don't know. Can't know, really. In the end, does it even matter? I would say no, others would probably disagree. This debate is hard-coded into the film's DNA. If you were fortunate enough to be in a room with Robert Eggers, Willem Dafoe, and Robert Pattinson, you lucky dog, and ask each of them individually to tell you their interpretations of the events that occur in the film, not their meaning, just the actual events, they would not agree with each other. And this is where I think The Lighthouse loses people, or at least risks losing them. Eggers is not shy about admitting that the goal of this film was to disorient and even anger its audience. He is almost annoyingly elusive to any direct questions about the film's meaning, and that elusiveness extended to his cast.
Is this stuff actually happening? Or is it a magical island? And also, whose perspective is the story being told from? Is this even happening? And he's like, you have to decide that for yourself.
This is risky territory to traffic in as a filmmaker, because it only takes one interview where a director says, "It's open to your interpretation," to morph a passive desire for a simple answer into a disrespectful offense at the dodging of it. In fewer words, it can sound condescending. So, what's the alternative? Maybe Eggers should have borrowed Darren Aronofsky's approach to Mother and made the film significantly more clear with its themes and message, and also openly explained it in great detail during multiple interviews, virtually unprompted.
I realized that the myths of the Bible would be a really good kind of structure, and if you go through the film, you'll actually see all of the stories unfold in order in the Bible.
But this approach also risks annoying those who want to be challenged by the art they engage with. It's a real Sophie's choice that can irreversibly damage a film or significantly improve it, but the outcome is not determined by which option is selected. If the director never shuts up about the exact message of the movie, it can hurt the discourse surrounding it. I think for many who don't have a pre-established interest in it, The Lighthouse could inspire the same dismissive attitude that one might hold towards a long-lost epic poem or a great American novel that was required reading in English class. The aspect ratio, the subtitle-demanding dialogue, the absence of color, the intentional obfuscation of clarity, these things can feel pretentious. And in the spirit of feeling pretentious, I'd like to ramble about the foghorn. The Lighthouse stars Dafoe and Pattinson. That's it. In total, only 9 people appear on screen during its runtime, and only 2-ish of them show up more than once. But there is a common belief, and one that I share, that inanimate objects or places can also be characters. The mermaid statue feels like a character, goading Pattinson to grace us with his firm butt while he fervently tugs himself off. The Lighthouse is a beautiful, monolithic, girthy character, providing a clear phallic image for the audience to prepare them for some good old-fashioned homoeroticism. But for me, the most important character, after the 2 obvious ones, is the foghorn. It is the first thing the film has to offer, that haunting wail. If the film's visual presentation is its first challenge to the audience, this unrelenting wall of sound is the second, and a substantially larger challenge to boot. It is the sound barrier to entry. If this foghorn comes across ostentatious, a cocksure blast cockily announcing itself as important and deep and an A24 movie, then this tale might not be worth the storage space. But if this foghorn makes its purpose clear before the end of its first blow, you are at least somewhat better prepared for what it warns of. But despite its efforts, the foghorn is not what floored me. Nor is it the fucking bananas amount of research Robert Eggers put into making every layer of this mysterious world. Seriously, listen to the commentary track if you can. It's not Willem Dafoe's career-best performance.
You're fond of me, lobster.
Or Mark Corvin's unparalleled compositions. Or Jaron Blaschke's Oscar-snubbed eye. It is a different sound. One that repeats just as often as the foghorn, but will likely startle with the number of times it is heard. For those of you who ignored me earlier and have not seen the movie, I owe a quick explanation. I honestly had very few expectations going into The Lighthouse. There were some broad ones, I guess. I knew it would be in black and white, so it would be a tough ask getting anyone to go watch it with me. There was a ton of buzz coming out of Cannes, which is a universally good sign for a horror movie, and I'd seen The Witch, which, to put it lightly, did not have much to offer in the way of humor. So to say that Willem Dafoe caught me off guard is putting it very, very lightly. The last thing I expected from The Lighthouse was to laugh out loud at funny things in it. I sound like a robot, but it's important to explain. I'm guilty of buying tickets to movies like Unfriended with the sole intention of giggling at its expense. But like, how does a movie where this happens also include this? The Lighthouse offers up more scatological humor than most mainstream comedies of the last decade, at least. And it's not just your
Goddamn farts!
There's more pissing, turd chucking, and sex and cumming in this movie than some of the less abhorrent products from the Adam Sandlers and the Wayans family and Jason I don't remember his fucking name. Jason Mann and Alka-Seltzers. The movies. Guys, before we even hear Willem Dafoe's voice, we hear him rip ass. This movie is absolutely tickled by its childishness. And the best part?
After making The Witch so miserable and self-serious, I thought if I was going to explore misery again, I would want to be able to laugh at it. So, fart jokes.
That is one of the only things Robert Eggers has clearly explained about this film. Of everything in the movie, all of the rich symbolism and innumerable references to mythology and history, a script that could be torn apart and interpreted in dozens of different ways, Eggers offers a rare, crystal clear response to explain its fart jokes. And they exist because they made him laugh, and he wanted to laugh. And I think that that's beautiful. The Lighthouse is nothing short of baffling, both in its storytelling and in its existence. It is a textbook example of what a film can achieve when remarkably talented people at the absolute top of their game come together to make something that fucks your head raw and dares you to bask in the afterglow. It is a testament to the benefits of differing interpretations and opinions within a creative team. Several pieces of completely different jigsaw puzzles somehow, miraculously, fitting snugly together. It is very good, I'd say. Hopefully, I've done a miserable job explaining this film. Hopefully, those of you who ignored my advice and watched this without seeing the film first still have little to no idea what it's actually about. But above all, hopefully, I've presented it in a way that captures the feelings it provided me. I don't always have the easiest time expressing how art makes me feel in a tangible way. Attempting to translate the experience I have when watching The Lighthouse into an assortment of words feels impossible. I do not think I've done that, and I don't think I should have tried to. And that makes it easy to understand why I'm so forgiving of Eggers' evasiveness about his thought process. I understand where he's coming from, or at least I think I do. I understand what the movie is saying to me, and that it will not say the same thing to everyone else. And as far as I'm concerned, that is enough.
Salty semen, tentacle juice. I love how Rob clutches his shark genitals, making him ha